What is going on, everybody? It's the Bag of Tricks here. Welcome back to another video. Before this video gets started, I wanted to let you guys know that the web store has been reloaded for the 2021-2022 season with all new merch. We got the new Everyday's a Bluebird shirts, the new Pretzel King shirts, new stickers and new sticker color options. We got necklaces still in stock, beanies still in stock, and there's going to be even more merch dropping throughout this season. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to stay up to date on not only all of my videos, but all of the future merch drops as well. All of this stuff is handmade in my home, and it would mean the world to me for you guys to support the channel by buying some merch. So be sure to check it out, link down below in the description. In today's video, we're gonna be doing the ultimate comparison between skiing and snowboarding. I've done a few videos like this in the past, one on what's harder between the two sports and one on what's more fun between the two sports, but there's so many other things when it comes to these two sports that are a little bit different. I just felt like I needed to make a more definitive, complete guide for all of you guys out there that are new to the sports and are thinking about getting into one but can't decide which one is best for them. So hopefully I break it down as much as you need me to, but if you have any other questions about the differences between the two sports, be sure to leave them down below in the comments and I will try to get to every single one of those. So let's start this off with the entry price. I'm gonna be very frank that neither of these sports are cheap. Skis, boots, bindings, snowboard boots, a snowboard bindings, all of those things added up are going to roughly be even depending on what brands you go with. Both sports require the same outerwear, snow pants, coats, goggles, helmets, gloves, all of those things. Those are equal across the board as well. Lift tickets are going to be equal across the board. Lessons are equal across the board. Luckily, you'll be able to find a lot of gear used because there's a lot of skiers and snowboarders out there. They're always looking to upgrade their stuff, and so there's always going to be a large market of used things, but for the most part, entry price is going to be identical for either one of these two sports. So if you were hoping that one or the other was going to be much cheaper, I got bad news for you. That is just not the case. All right, moving on from there, let's talk about the differences in gear between the two sports. The elephant in the room here is going to be the boots. Snowboard boots feel 100 times better than ski boots. Snowboard boots are very similar to just regular snow boots. They're just a little bit more rigid and give your ankle and lower leg a lot more support. Ski boots, on the other hand, are hard shell boots. When you put them on for the first time, you're gonna be shocked that anybody could wear this for longer than 20 minutes because they are not comfortable. They're weird, they're bulky, they're heavy, they're awkward to walk in. In general, I hate ski boots. I'm a skier for the most part now, but man, do I hate them. And if you're somebody who prioritizes comfort, then you're really gonna wanna go with the snowboard boots. Moving on from there, bindings are a big difference in the two sports as well. With skiing, you just step into your bindings, it takes a millisecond and you're ready to go. With snowboarding, you have to manually strap them on by hand, and every single run, you are going to have to unstrap your boot at the bottom of the run, get on the lift, and then at the top of the run, restrap your boot in, and then you're gonna be ready to go. So if you have a bunch of impatient friends, this may annoy them if they're all skiers. Tell them, hey, it takes me like 10 seconds, you guys can just relax, because it's really not a big deal. But just keep in mind that you're gonna have to be fidgeting with your snowboard bindings much more often than ski bindings. One other note on ski bindings is they will pop off if you crash bad enough. They have brakes built in, so they're not gonna go flinging down the trail. But keep in mind, you might have to re-enter your ski bindings in the middle of the trail, and that could be a little bit awkward. Snowboard bindings are never going to release. Finally, poles. Skiers are gonna use poles, snowboarders aren't. It's really not a big deal. Poles can help on flat ground. They can help with balance a little bit. I don't even ski with poles in the terrain park, and the only times I ever use them is big mountain situations, just so I don't look like a doofus. So if poles are gonna sway you one way or the other between these two sports, you're probably looking at this all wrong. But one final note on the gear. With skis, since your boots are so uncomfortable, you probably don't wanna walk from your car to the lodge in them. With snowboard boots, you can easily do that. You can even drive to the resort in your snowboard boots. Because ski boots are so awkward, you're gonna have to carry ski boots, skis, and ski poles whenever you're walking anywhere. With a snowboard, you just have to carry your snowboard because your snowboard boots are already gonna be on and there's nothing else to worry about. So walking around with all your ski gear is super awkward. It's one of my least favorite parts of skiing, and snowboarders have it so much better here. Just stuff to keep in mind as far as the gear goes. Let's talk about learning the two sports, because I think this is something that is gonna make or break a sport for you. If you just cannot figure it out and you're having a miserable time through the first few days trying it, then you're probably never gonna want to do that sport again. So it's important that you choose one that you think fits you better. So skiing is generally easier to pick up for pretty much anybody, especially people that have no board sport experience. The only time I would say you may be able to learn snowboarding quicker than you could skiing is if you have like spent your life doing board sports like skateboarding, surfing, wakeboarding, stuff like that. If you have no experience with board sports at all, I would learn skiing first. You can always go back and learn snowboarding down the road once you get used to the mountain and all of the things that come with skiing at a ski resort. For the first few goes, I would definitely suggest skiing. You're in a much more natural riding position. There's not as much edge control needed in order to stop and slow down and do all of those things that you need to do. You can just pizza and french fry and not really worry about too much as a new skier. With snowboarding, you have to learn your edge control, otherwise you're gonna be catching your front edge, which is gonna throw you right to your face, or your back edge, which is gonna throw you right on your tailbone and whiplash your head. It's gonna be a lot of picking yourself back up off the ground, and that can be exhausting and extremely painful. With skiing, you generally don't fall as much. You're gonna fall, it's gonna happen, but not as much as you would on a snowboard. A few other things with learning is with a snowboard, you're gonna have to learn how to push with one foot because like I said, you're gonna be unstrapping that back foot often, and you need to know how to push yourself around the resort on the flat ground with that one foot. And keep in mind, when you unstrap that back foot at the bottom of the trail and get on the lift, at the top of the lift, you're gonna be getting off of the lift with one foot. That is a skill to learn in and of itself. It's not an easy skill to learn. Lifts are harder, tow ropes are gonna be harder on a snowboard. In general, I would suggest if you're brand new to both sports, you have no board sport experience, start with skiing. It's probably gonna go much smoother for you. Now let's talk injuries in that same vein, the toll on the body. Snowboarding, you're gonna be landing on your wrists a lot, you're gonna be landing on your tailbones a lot, you're gonna be whiplashing your head into the snow a lot. It's going to require you to be in better shape because you are going to be sitting down and standing up every single run to strap in your bindings. You're gonna be pushing yourself up off the ground a lot more at first, like I said before. So it's gonna be more tiring, it's gonna be more exhausting, and as a beginner, it may be slightly more dangerous. I don't wanna say one is more dangerous than the other because I don't have the data to prove that, but from my experiences watching my friends learn each of the two sports, snowboarding, you can have some gnarly slams by just going down a green circle by catching that front or back edge. Skiing, you don't really have that much, but with skiing, you have a lot more risk of twisting injuries with your knee. I personally blew out my ACL like a year and a half ago. If I was on a snowboard, that never would have happened. I'm sure knee injuries are much, much higher on skis just because of your legs aren't locked into the same board. There's freedom to twist around. That's just not there on a snowboard. But at the end of the day, they're action sports. They're not the safest things in the world. And most likely, unfortunately, they're going to happen no matter what sport you choose. All right, let's talk about mastering these sports and what each of these sports will bring you once you become more advanced. In general, I would say snowboarding, while it might be harder to learn at first, it's actually gonna be quicker to master because the two main skills in snowboarding are going to be your toe side and heel side carves. And once you learn those, I mean, there is other techniques that you can work on, but you don't really need much else in order to get down all of the trails on the mountain. With skiing, on the other hand, to carve properly, to do a hockey style stop, to get away from that piece of French fry style of skiing, which is a very beginner friendly way of skiing, but not a way that you can take on black diamonds in more difficult terrain, it's going to be a lot more technical. And to this day, I mean, I've been skiing for years now. I don't think I carve properly, and I don't think my skiing form is really all that good. So that just kind of goes to show how hard it can be to really master skiing because you have more edges, you have two planks to worry about rather than just the one, and it gets super, super technical. Also, skiing switch or backwards is going to be much more difficult than snowboarding switch because when you're skiing backwards, your back is facing straight down the hill and it's very blind. A snowboard isn't like that at all. Once you start getting better and better and better at the sport, I would say snowboarding is going to be more fun on just a regular, any old average trail. I mean, there's much more creativity that you can do with a snowboard. There's so many flat ground tricks that you can do to entertain yourself on regular trails that aren't really available to skiing. I mean, you can do them on skiing, it's just much more difficult. Moving on from there, what sport is more enjoyable when it's a powder day? Again, I'm gonna go with snowboarding, and there's a few reasons for this. Number one, it just feels like you're floating on top of the world and you're surfing. It's an amazing feeling. But number two, you don't need a separate powder snowboard. I mean, you can buy them, but it's not really necessary. It's much more easy to stay on top of the snow on a powder day on a snowboard than it it is with skis, where generally you'll need to buy a much wider pair of skis to keep yourself up on top of that snow. So keep that in mind when it comes to powder days. If that's all you're looking for is to slash that powder, then a snowboard would probably be a better option. Moving on to super steep, maybe backcountry type terrain, what sport is gonna be easier, more enjoyable there? If it's groomed, I would say they're pretty much even. I mean, it's really a toss-up. You're gonna be able to tackle the most difficult terrain no matter what sport you choose. But if it is an ungroomed trail and it's bumped out, there's moguls everywhere, there's bumps everywhere, 100,000% I suggest skiing, because if I run into a mogul field on a snowboard, I would rather just unstrap and walk down the rest of the trail. That's how miserable it is. But on skis, you can manage it much more easily, and you can even learn how to ski moguls, and then it's not a problem at all. So if your mountain you're thinking of skiing at has a lot of terrain like that, then I would definitely suggest skiing. Moving on to the terrain park, in general, if you're looking to learn one of these sports really quick and start hitting rails and jumps as fast as you possibly can, then I would say snowboarding is going to get you there quicker, because of the fact that learning rails is so much simpler on a snowboard compared to skis. With skis, you have to learn how to hit a rail sideways. You have to do a 90-degree rotation, land on the rail sideways, and then slide down the rail, and then once again do a 90-degree rotation when you hop off. With a snowboard, you just kind of have to point it right at the rail, hop up on top of the rail, go straight, and you're good. Once you learn how to go down trails on a snowboard, you could probably learn how to 50-50 that same day. That being said, hitting a jump at first might be a little bit more easy on skis just because you're going forward, but as you get into more advanced tricks and riding, skiing just exponentially gets more difficult. I mean, with rails, the difficulty of rail tricks is literally endless with skiing, because you're able to stop your momentum and spin the opposite way. I mean, there's just so many more combinations that you can do on a rail. On skis, it's just insane, and snowboarding has it a little bit, but not nearly as much as skiing. So advanced rail skiing takes the cake of difficulty, but also, in my opinion, much more fun. Moving over to the jump side of things, I mean, most jump tricks are gonna be pretty even between the two sports. I would say flips are easier on skis just because it's more natural. Snowboarding, again, you're moving down the hill sideways, so that's a little awkward in and of itself. So that kind of wraps up my list. Again, if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I wanted to make this guide and just hopefully help anybody deciding between these two sports for the first time which one to pick up. My suggestion to you guys would be to start skiing, and down the road, if you want to start snowboarding, then do it after you've learned how to ski. If you do decide to snowboard right away, I still would suggest learning skiing down the road, and as you move forward in your alpine sport career, just do both. I mean, both are so fun. They have different traits that make one more fun than the other here and there. If you only ever do one, you're really missing out on another beautiful sport, extremely fun sport. I mean, learn both, do both, then you don't have to decide at all. There, I made this decision extremely easy for you. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Again, check out that merch down below. And one final time, if you have any more questions, leave them in the comments and I will be sure to get to them. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace.